So again, happy Friday. Let's get started like we normally do. You've all done this before, so just get into a nice meditation posture and we'll begin at the sound of the bell. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the teacher. I go for refuge to the Dharma, the teaching. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the taught. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I have taken refuge in the Buddha. I have taken refuge in the Dharma. I have taken refuge in the Sangha. 3 pure precepts. Cease to do harm. Do only good. Do good for others. Bodhisattva vow. However innumerable all beings are, I vow to lead them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I follow it completely. Swaha. And that is, I vow to follow it completely. Left out a word there. Excuse me for just a moment. I need to answer a quick I am. Be right back. Thank you for your patience, and happy Friday, Sophie. I saw you slip in over there. Make sure I didn't miss anybody today. So, it's a holiday season, and for the last 2 days, I have been test baking cookies, trying to come up with new recipes. This is something that I do every year. I make cookies. So today we're going to talk about cookies. This is another thing I like to talk about every year. I often talk to you folks about the idea that we don't just practice Buddhism sitting here in the Sangha, right? We practice Buddhism all the time. So every Christmas holiday season, this is a talk that I like to give. It's about the Buddhist lessons that we can realize and that we can practice when baking cookies. Right? We can almost have moments of enlightenment while baking cookies. Now, Mary, my lady, and I, we have a tradition of giving this huge tray of holiday cookies to our librarians, for one, and then we also use them as gifts to family members and other friends. And a couple of years ago, I encountered that I have a health challenge, and I thought that it might lead me to stopping this tradition. But I kind of looked to the Dharma and said, is this something I need to stop, really? It kind of was causing me suffering. Let's be honest about it, right? Because I like to make cookies. I like to make people smile by handing them, a big tray of beautiful, tasty cookies. And this idea that I had to change was kind of off-putting for me. So again, turn to the Dharma, right? Turn to some Eightfold Path, whatever. So I got to thinking about it, and I thought, everything when I make cookies is right in front of me, right? The tools, everything from the spatula to the stove. The recipe is there, the ingredients. And it's up to me to put them together and create whatever I'm imagining that they can be. That doesn't matter, sweet or savory, chewy or crunchy, plain or frosted, many of them or just a few of them. The choice is mine, right? But it's a choice that's dependent on many causal factors, both internal and external causal factors. What ingredients do I have around the house? That's something I faced just this morning. Let's see. What cookies did the people like best last year? That's always a good one. Happy Friday, Coanne. Good to see you. Then I have to look, too, what are my favorite cookies? I'm the one baking them. I should at least bake something I really enjoy, right? And how many hours, though, can I devote to cookie baking? So far, like 2 days worth. How many am I going to make? And in the end, who's going to get all these cool cookies? So there's a lot to do, a lot to think about. Well, the reality of impermanence and the causal nature of the universe has brought about a dramatic change to how I now have to bake cookies during the holiday season. All of what I said before remains true. It's that phrase, a choice dependent on many causal factors, that once again jumps up and says, hey, look at me, I'm Dharma. Right? Things are always going to change. So what to bake, what ingredients to buy, and what would be my favorite cookies, didn't know. Still kind of working on it. I was diagnosed with a rather severe gluten allergy, and so all my plans had to change. And that diagnosis has involved a huge transformation. Recipes that I've been making for 20 years, gone. Can't make them anymore. At least for me, right? I can make them for others. Well, once you decide you're going to make cookies and you decide what kind and you got all your stuff together and all that, then you just got to gather up the appropriate recipes. And for each type of cookie, there's a recipe to follow that was created by someone else or might have been created by me. They each have been proven to work through experience, right? My experience is making them, and then the oohs and ahs that come with people enjoying them, or well, I don't like those comments, get those too sometimes. And each recipe has been tested, and it continues to be tested every batch that is made. It is a guide to what tools I'll need, what ingredients are necessary, how to combine them, and how long it's going to take me to finally reach that delicious product. So, I can depend on the experience of others, right? Find a good recipe, use it. Or I can modify the recipes. I can say, well, like a recipe I did just this morning, I did 2 substitutions, gluten-free substitutions, to see if the recipe would still work. Or I can just choose to create something totally new. And I've done that too. But whatever my choice is, it's going to be an experience that's unique to me. And the cookies are going to be a unique experience to anybody who happens to eat them. So when making cookies, ultimately it's what I do that matters, right? Just like in anything. But with this change, with this gluten-free thing going on, I had to seek out new recipes. And I had to go where I had never gone before, gluten-free cookbooks. Turned out to be a great Buddhist practice, though, because it was my choice, right? I could whine or I could complain about not getting to make and eat what had been my favorite holiday cookie up till then, which, by the way, is the spicy tropical fruitcake cookie. Or I could go out and find new recipes that might become my favorites. Well, I chose to do the latter. Right? With the help of my Lady Mary, my local librarians, we got together, found some great cookbooks, and I was able to renew this holiday experience that I like so much. What we do in the face of change, whether it's forced change on us, like finding out you need to be a gluten-free diet, or if it's a choice. I have decided I'm not going to drink coffee anymore. Right? Whichever one it is, it's what we choose to do in the face of that change, whether it's positive or negative, that relates directly to the strength of our practice. We can accept changes and we can just respond to them in appropriate ways, or we can choose to react emotionally, get angry, get sad, get greedy, get envious, and we can suffer the karmic consequences that we know will happen. Our experience tells us it happens, shows us. So again, it's what we do that matters. So I finally make my choice what cookie I'm going to make. In other words, I'm kind of recognizing the goal I'm setting out for, right? What particular delicious cookie. So I decide what to make, take stock of what I have, what I need to know, what I need to get. I get together the bowls, measuring spoons, cups, mixer, flour, brown sugar, chili, mango, pineapple, chocolate chips, walnuts, eggs, and vanilla. All these things have their own self-identity, just like we do. But it's destined to undergo a transformation to a completely different form, just like we're doing. But it'll still be an impermanent form. And in the case of cookies, it's because somebody's going to eat them. But in the case of us, we're impermanent because we're always changing. The tools and the ingredients seem separate, right? You being the ingredient, Buddhism being the tool, but we're all part of the same phenomenon. If it's cookies, making cookies. If it's Buddhists, making Buddhists. So tools are ingredients, and ingredients are tools. Combined, they are the potential for something delicious, something that can cause the arising of health if you don't eat too many of them, and it can cause happiness and harmony. So making cookies is the idea of transforming emptiness to form and then form back to emptiness. You take a whole bunch of different ingredients, separate things, empty, right? Put them together, make a form. Somebody eats that form, it's empty again. Learning new skills. This is a way of transforming emptiness to form. It's practicing this pragmatic Buddhist vow that we make to pursue lifelong learning. Knowing how to bake cookies takes a particular set of knowledge and skills. Baking really good cookies requires learning, or excuse me, baking really good cookies takes years of experience and, of course, eating them, right? You got to try them out. Baking cookies without the binding factor of gluten, though, requires a new set of knowledge and skills that I had to learn. There is the potential for good cookies, potential that we can only realize through practice. And it's a lot like practicing the Dharma. The potential is there. Just takes practice. Most of the usual ingredients that I would go to at Christmas time had to be abandoned. They had to be replaced by what is more wholesome for me, but hopefully just as tasty for the other folks that get the cookies. It's kind of like learning about the not self. What unwholesome habitual reactivities do we need to abandon in order to replace them with wholesome dispositions that will benefit the not self and others? Hello, Lala. Happy Friday. Anthony Bourdain, you're probably familiar with him. He's a celebrity chef, writer, and traveler who very sadly is no longer with us. He said this, quote, "To be a cook or to enjoy food, you must be willing to take chances," unquote. So whether the recipe is a success or flop, whether the cookies are welcomed or rejected, whether they come out looking like a picture in a recipe book or don't, my intent is to make something tasty. So got to be willing to take chances, right? Now, if a mistake is made in combining ingredients and the cookies aren't perfect, I can creatively redescribe them, go on, try again. Or might discover that a mistake led to an even more delicious cookie. Once those cookies get on the plate, it's all about intent then, right? It's all about intent. A recipe is a guide, much like the Four Ennobling Realities or truths, the pure precepts, of the lessons, any of these lessons that we encounter within our mindful Buddhist practice. A recipe gives you the ingredients, and it gives you the process that you need to do to reach that product that you imagine. You're a product. You are a product of culture, context, effort, intent, action, thought, experiences, history, goals. Well, so are cookies. It is how you are and how you imagine that you can be that matters. So this year, or excuse me, that's been 2 years, a couple of years ago, I discovered this different factor now of how I am. I am allergic to gluten. Then I had to imagine a new how to be. Now I imagine I can have less muscle aches, less joint pain, less lethargy, less stomach issues, and less mental confusion. It's going to take mindfulness, takes effort, takes action to achieve a better me, and to set aside these long-held dispositions toward cookies and other great baked goods that have gluten in them. So this really sounds familiar, because a Buddhist, too, must always be striving for that better me, right? So they can be that better social self, too. Each of us are a unique combination of tools and ingredients. An engaged Buddhist practice is the recipe for putting it all together to achieve positive transformation. That's what we're shooting for. It begins, though, with an honest view of how you are and the development of an honest intent to work toward how you want to be. Personal attributes like your intelligence, steadfastness, mindfulness, physical and mental strength, these are the tools, some of the tools you already have. At least you've got them to some degree. They are tools that can be improved upon through knowledge and commitment and effort. Personal dispositions and habits like compassion, anger, patience, fear, acceptance, and procrastination, and of course the whole host of others, can promote or hinder your transition depending on the causal consequences that they invoke. Dispositions and habits can be discarded if they don't fit the recipe, or can be improved upon and built upon so you can refine that product that is you. How you combine your unique ingredients matters. The engaged Buddhist recipe combines the traditional lessons of Buddhism that's found in the Pali Nikayas and pragmatic teachings from other Buddhist platforms, along with contemporary teachings of pragmatic Buddhism and Western philosophy and science. And that all comes together with the knowledge that comes from experiencing the efficacy of a commitment to a Buddhist practice. Siddhartha awakened to the realization of the Four Ennobling Truths as ideals to be engaged, and dependent origination and impermanence as realities to be experienced. It is through the awareness of the facts, the mixing into your previously held worldview, the reality that comes with an appropriate view of the causal universe. This is where you develop that awareness of the facts. Accepting the addition of the Dharma as an ingredient in you enriches and benefits. Taking the action to use the tools and ingredients to their most beneficial effects will produce a compassionate agent of wholesome personal and social development. It's the process of blending what you have and what you need for a more positive transition, for that more wholesome personal character and approach to life, if you will. So this is a contemporary traditionalist recipe that matters. We take the traditional, we take the contemporary, and bring them together so they work for us. Again, it's what I do with cookies. Probably what you do with cookies if you bake them. The engaged Buddhist recipe is not so dogmatic that it leaves no room for change. As long as we're holding to the core ideals, much like a chocolate chip cookie. A chocolate chip cookie can have nuts, it can have peanut butter chips, and it can have coconut. But it's still going to be a kind of chocolate chip cookie. Depending on the unique situation encountered by an engaged Buddhist, there may be a need for compassion, or maybe for altruism. Maybe you need to be pluralistic or pragmatic. We have to look at the situation. Well, this is just like sometimes we want a crunchy cookie, and sometimes we want a chewy cookie. Depends on how our mind is uniquely looking at things that day. Now, there are going to come moments in every human life when the recipe that is us must be changed. Don't be hindered by a dogmatic life, one that's just filled with rules that you're trying to follow. Don't be hindered by any craving for permanence, because nothing's permanent. Instead, view any need for change as a challenge and develop the intent to take appropriate action so that wholesome effects are experienced both by you and by the world around you. Everything you need is there. You've got the tools, you've got the recipe, you've got the ingredients, and it's up to you to put them together and make you how you imagine you can be. A lot of using. You can be compassionate or greedy, your choice. Tolerant or impatient, your choice. Selfless or angry, again, you get to make the choices. You learn the core recipe. That's what we're here to do, right? We learn the core recipe. You acquire the ingredients, develop the skillful means to use the tools, and then you can choose how you want to be. And swaha, so be it. So making cookies taught me a valuable lesson over the last couple of years. Each of us are causally conditioned by the realities of illness and aging. Now, in my case, it was the arising of this gluten allergy thing. And in others, these realities are going to manifest differently. It is a natural human thing that there will be a moment of emotional upheaval, and a moment of this idea, what now, is going to arise in us. What's going to happen now? It might manifest as despair or anger or confusion, anxiety or fear. Well, then each of us has to make a choice. We can react with anger, denial, and fear, or we can respond appropriately. Like in my case, change my diet. Sometimes maybe we have to change our lifestyle. We might even have to change our environment. The first choice can lead to death, despair, and discord. The second choice leads to harmony, health, and happiness. You decide which you're going to choose. I want to close with one thing, sort of cookie related. This is the Christmas holiday season. And we couple it with the secular New Year's holiday. And this offers us as Buddhists all kinds of opportunities to engage in what we call social virtuosity. The religious aspect of the Christmas season is extremely important in its aspect to some people, to a lot of people. And on the flip side, the commercial aspect is extremely important to others. And they're also not mutually exclusive, right? You can be doing both, too. So you've got folks that are really interested in it from a religious aspect, folks from a secular aspect, folks that like it both, right? This is the time of Hanukkah and of Kwanzaa. There's holiday sales and cocktail parties. This is a time when contentions between Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays arise. I'm sure you guys have all been exposed to that over the years. Sales clerks mutter Happy Holidays when really what they want to say is Merry Christmas. A Buddhist then is beset with opportunities to practice social virtuosity. In other words, fitting in. There is no Buddhist Christmas, and there is no Buddhist commercialized holiday. But I can guarantee in 500 years or less there will be, right? Because that's the way the world works. But anyway, there is nothing inherently wrong about engaging with others during a time when the promotion of happiness and harmony is at the forefront of their thinking. Right? That's this time of year. In other words, this is not the time to rock the boat. This is the time to strengthen the habits and dispositions that arise during the season. In other words, guide people to being more generous, more tolerant, more loving, right? What we want to do is we want to put a Santa hat on our Buddha nature. So here's an example. If somebody is getting ready to do a gift-giving thing, and maybe it's at work, we'll use work as an example, and they come around with the thing for you to draw a name, and you look up and say, oh, no, I'm not involved with Christmas. I'm a Buddhist. Is that going to create harmony or happiness? No. And what's the point? Why not join in? Why not be part of that social event? If for nothing else, to get connected to people, to learn more about them, to learn more about yourself. So we don't say, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I don't get involved with Christmas. We're not getting involved with Christmas per se, we're getting involved with the people. And that's much more important. It's kind of like when somebody says, sneeze, and they say, bless you. Oh, don't say that to me, I'm a Buddhist. Well, that's silly. We don't want to do that. Questions, comments?